For anyone starting out in cycling or triathlon, then one of the first things that you're advised to buy for your bike is a pair of clipless pedals like these and some cycling shoes.
Yeah, it's thought that you're more powerful, you're more comfortable and more efficient when you're using pedals that you're clipped into as opposed to flat ones like these.
But given that we're triathletes and we're transitioning to the run, then it could make a lot of sense to actually wear running shoes and then simply jump off our bike and run off.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's enough of us chatting about it. It's time we went to investigate.
Yeah.
Right, but to start with, I'd like to take a look at an area specific to triathlon, the transitions. Now, I think this could be a really interesting comparison between clipless pedals and flat pedals.
Yeah, I mean, most of us use bike shoes on the bike with clipless pedals, and then we come into T2 and we change and put our running shoes on. But why not wear trainers for all of it? So you can wear your trainers on the bike and then you're ready to go straight into the run.
Well, aside from it perhaps affecting our cycling, could actually change our transition time. So we thought this could be a really interesting investigation. We're going to do some transitions. We're going to do a T1 from here. We're going to grab our bikes. We're going to run out. We're going to mount our bikes after this mount line here. We're going to do a quick out and back on our bikes around the cone up there before dismounting before the dismount line here. We're going to drop our bike off and then we're going to run out across the line again. Now we're going to do two runs on this. We're going to do a run where we're wearing our bike shoes on the bike before popping our running shoes on. Then we're going to do another run where we're wearing our running shoes throughout and we're going to time all the runs and compare.
Go! Come on! Come on. Go. Nice. Come on. Oh, smooth over those shoes. Oh, quick. Yeah. Woo! Ready for one.
Nice. Okay, Heather's run on the flat pedals. Let's see how she gets on. She's looking very focused. Are you ready, Heather?
I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Circuit fast. Running shoes on. Helmet on. And she's away. And a mount. Round the corner. Good work, Heather. Ready for T2. And this way, come into your element here. Helmet off, and she's away. Awesome. 46.7. Good work.
Okay, Mark, you ready for your flatless pedal run?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go! Oh, that's quick off the mark there. Into the trainers. Easy to get on. Come on, go! And he's away. Oh! To make up for this time. Smooth on this man. Nice. Right, it's going to be speedy here. Go!
What was it?
It was 34.6.
Ooh.
Only half a
A
second
little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I was going to say that the running shoes, staying in the running shoes throughout was going to be a lot quicker, but going by my runs, it was only marginally quicker. So, I don't know, a little bit skeptical about it all now. So, just have to see.
Well, it's been a long time, as you probably saw, since my flying mount practice. So I've never actually done a transition with bands on my shoes. So yeah, I don't expect it to be faster, but we'll see.
Okay, Heather's turn for the clipless pedals and bike shoes. Are you ready?
I am ready.
3, 2, 1, let's go. Helmet on and away. Into the mount. Back into T2, dismount. Running shoes on. Good work. Okay, that was 53.7.
Try a bit slower.
That's been really interesting. I was surprised actually how little difference there was between the flat pedals and clipless for myself.
For you, yeah. I wasn't surprised at mine because I've not, cycled with my feet on top of my shoes before, so
yeah,
that's going to
but
make a
then
difference.
admittedly we weren't actually putting our feet into our bike shoes, so that could add more time
That would take
again.
me a lot longer because I've never even done it. So for me, the difference would be much bigger.
Yeah, so this has been really interesting. I think next step now, we need to head out and get cycling and see the differences there.
Okay, well, interesting results so far, but before we can make any real conclusions, I think we need to consider everything, and especially the bike. And we're going to use triathlon bikes as that's what most of us would race on.
Yeah, now I think I actually benefit quite a lot from pulling up on the pedals when I'm using clipless pedals, when I'm clipped in. But it's not actually something I've really compared before between clipless and flat, so I think this could be really interesting.
Well, we're going to experiment, so we're going to have 10 minutes of riding at a set power. We're both going to do it once with clipless pedals, once with flat, and then we're going to measure the difference between our heart rates, the speed, the distance we covered, and also just how it felt.
Okay, run 1 on the clipless pedals. Here we go.
Okay, this is my first run of 10 minutes. I'm starting off with my bike shoes and my clipless pedals. So here goes. Okay, this already feels a little bit silly, but we're going to see how riding in trainers and flats feels compared to clips. So here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, next run with the flat pedals, and this just feels very wrong. A P5X with flat pedals and trainers. But anyway, here we go. Okay, so that's all of our 10-minute runs done both on the clipless and on the flat. I tried to hold an average power of 285 and you held 200?
200, yeah.
200, perfect. Now, for the clipless results, I had a heart rate of 150 beats per minute, a speed of 41.5 kilometers an hour, which gave me a total distance of 6.9 kilometers.
Yeah, now I held 200 watts as I've said, so my heart rate was just above marks at 151 beats per minute, which gave me an average speed of 35.4 kilometers an hour, and I covered 5.9k with clips. Okay,
and then on to the flat, and things are interesting because I actually held the same power, 285, but I had a slightly higher heart rate of 154, and then my speed was quicker, 42.9 kilometers per hour, and gave me a total distance of 7.1. Now Heather, you...
Yeah, again, I managed to hold the same watt, so I was pretty much bang on 200. My heart rate raised just a couple of beats, so 153, but this time I managed 36 kilometers an hour, and that gave me 6k, so I ended up going 0.1 of a k further as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, when I actually finished the test, I felt a lot worse on the flat. It just didn't really feel comfortable. I felt like I was having to almost like work harder with my quads because I wasn't able to pull up. So I wonder whether I was overcompensating on my quads and almost like powering a bit more. Maybe we had a slight tailwind to play.
I think the wind picked up slightly, and we definitely do have a tailwind on this stretch. And maybe sometimes, you know, doing a second run, you're a bit more familiar with where you're heading and the road and things. So there's little things like that that could maybe favour a second run.
But then our heart rate was higher, which might suggest that we were working harder in a certain muscle group. I'm not sure. But either way, it's pretty close. It wasn't as, you know, an obvious difference as we maybe expected. So I think we need to look into this a bit further.
Okay, that surprised us and thrown us off slightly, but could it have even more of an impact on shorter distance races, especially draft legal, when it's less of a pure time trial effort?
Well, this isn't actually anything new. In fact, if we take a look at our duathlon friends, you will occasionally see athletes using a slightly advanced flat pedal with a toe clip, which is what they call a pyro pedal. And it makes a lot of sense given that they're going from run to bike to run, so there's kind of two shoe transitions. They can just wear their running shoes for the whole race. Now, we are taking a slight trip down memory lane with these, and I did try to acquire some and I failed. So I've just got some standard flat pedals with a toe clip, and personally I actually think this makes a lot of sense, but why don't we see triathletes using them, particularly for the shorter distance events?
Well, I mean, is it maybe something by the fact that it's because everybody else uses clipless pedals, so you're going to use them? But then, especially in group racing, when you've got the power surges, you need to be able to put that power down, and you've got that extra security. Or maybe people just prefer using clipless pedals.
Well, I think we need to do some sprints. Let's lay some power down. So we're doing 3 10-second maximal sprints and recording our peak powers for each. One with clipless pedals, another with the flat pedals, and also with the toe clips. Okay, so that is the sprints done and our mini triathlon in a sense, well, the bike leg at least. And quite a noticeable difference for me. On the clipped in, I had power of 1050 and then a significant drop off with the flats, so it was around 775. And then with the pedals with the toe clips, I was sort of somewhere in between, I had 915.
Well, I didn't have the same amount of watts, sadly, as Mark, but I still had the same pattern that I had my highest by far when I was clipped in, my lowest with the flats, and the clip pedals were somewhere in the middle.
The significant and quite obvious difference with the flats was just when you start get going on the sprint. It was just almost, it was almost like pulling my foot off the pedal. So I clearly pull up a lot in a sprint. So if I was doing a draft legal race, I don't think I'd be going for flats. The toe clips did help on that, but obviously there was still a bit of a drop off.
Yeah, so I got a bit of a slide around as well, like not just the fact that because my foot was coming up, but I felt like it wasn't completely stable. So even once I got going with the flat pedals, I still just didn't feel quite as secure, like handling the bike with
but
my,
then again,
with my feet not being
we are
fixed.
using it for the first time, so perhaps we could try it a bit more. So I guess the jury is still out there. We're not complete converts. I think personally, I'm probably still going to stick to cycling shoes for triathlon for now. But I was quite impressed by the toe clips, so I think we need to investigate that a little bit more. Yeah, well, if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to GTN by clicking on the globe. And if you'd like to see our video on comfort versus aero positions on a TT bike, you can see that by clicking down here.
And if watching this has made you think you want to practice your flying mat and you want to be as good as Mark and a lot better than me, then I have actually made a video on it from Lanzarote just here.